Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're all having a lovely day. Today I'd like to comment on what I believe is a poorly written opinion piece in The Hill from the Copyright Alliance. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of what I'm talking about, there is something called the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And there are some good things in the DMCA. Many people hate the DMCA, but there's some good things in the DMCA. For instance, if you are a platform and there is somebody uploads stuff to your platform that is copyrighted, rather than holding the platform accountable personally, you are able to deal with DMCA takedown requests and so on and so forth, so that, again, you actually have the ability to have the modern internet. There are certain aspects of the DMCA that are useful. The problem with the DMCA is when you get to Section 1201. Section 1201 is, in my opinion, a steaming pile of shit. This is the section of the DMCA that forbids you from trying to get around technical protection measures. So one thing many people talk about is they say, well, why is it that you are trying to get the government to do something when it comes to right to repair? That's not right. You should try to get the government out of it. The problem is that the government's already in it to a very large extent as it is. So let's say you have a video game console. Many modern video game consoles are not like the PlayStations that we grew up with. They have the optical drive in the device paired to the processor in a way where if you try to change that optical device and you're not doing it with the manufacturer's tools, it's not going to work because they're paired. Now, let's say that you're really, really smart and you come up with a way to reverse engineer that and you come up with a way around that. You're really smart, you sit at home, you try coding for 5 or 10 years to fuck around and come up with a way to be able to install any optical drive in your game console. You just did something illegal. You broke Section 1201 of the DMCA. You're not allowed to do that. Another example of this, Future Motion has something called the one-wheel electric skateboard. And on this device, if you try to put a higher amp-hour battery in, that's not something that they want you doing. If you put a higher amp-hour battery in, the controller will still shut itself down once it believes that it has used up the amp hours that was supposed to be in there from stock. Now, if somebody comes up with a way around this, technically, they are violating Section 1201 of the DMCA because they are violating that technical protection measure that was put into place to limit what you can do with what you own. Other examples of this are with, let's say, DVD Decryptor. That's a lovely program from back in the day where you didn't have the online marketplace for media that you do now. So if you had some sort of movie and you wanted to be able to watch that movie on something like I'm showing my age here, a Cohen A2, and you wanted to have like 20 movies on one device instead of having to carry a portable DVD player around, if you wanted to be able to do that, you were technically breaking the law, and you would use DVD Decryptor to take that movie that you own and put it on your own device. Section 1201 of the DMCA is hated by virtually everybody, because what it does is it makes it illegal for us to come up with ways to get around repair restrictions put in place by the manufacturer, even if we're smart enough to reverse engineer it. Now, this is what I find something to be fairly reasonable. If we were to read this here, it says the Section 1201, Title 17 is amended by adding at the end the following new subsection: diagnosis, maintenance, and repair of digital electronic equipment. Notwithstanding the provisions of subsection A1A, also known as a really cool-looking highway in Florida, it is not a violation of that subsection for a person, for the purpose of diagnosis, maintenance, or repair of digital electronic equipment, to circumvent a technological measure that effectively controls access to a work protected under this title. Notwithstanding the provisions of subsection A2, it is not a violation of that subsection for a person, for the purpose of diagnosis, maintenance, or repair of digital electronic equipment, to manufacture, import, or offer to the public, provide, or otherwise traffic in any technology, product, service, device, component, or part thereof described in that subsection. 3. Notwithstanding the provisions of subsection B1, it is not a violation of that subsection for a person, for the purpose of diagnosis, maintenance, or repair of digital electronic equipment, to manufacture, import, offer to the public, provide, or otherwise traffic in any technology, product, service, device, component, or part thereof described in that subsection. 4. Nothing in this subsection applies to manufacturers or distributors of a medical device as defined in the FDA's Cosmetic Act, or a digital electronic product or embedded software manufactured for use in a medical setting, including diagnostic, monitoring, or control equipment, or any product or service they offer. 5. For the purposes of the subsection, the term digital electronic equipment means any product dependent in whole or in part upon attached or embedded digital electronics to function. One moment. Shut up! This seems reasonable to me. This means that if you have gone out of your way to code in a restriction into your device that does not allow me to fix the property that I own, that if somebody then comes up with a way to get around that restriction, they're not breaking the law anymore. Because this is a very common question that we get on this channel. Well, Lewis, if you're not able to fix it, hey, they're allowed to make it however they want. Why don't you try to get around it? If we try to get around the repair restrictions, we're breaking the law. This is something that I have been working towards for quite a while, trying to get Section 1201 of the DMCA Out of repair, because I don't believe it has any say in that. I don't believe it belongs there. I don't believe it should be illegal for you to be able to repair a device that you own. And this is an article that just came out today. And we're going to be having a couple of interviews on this channel just to go over just how wrong this is. So, from The Hill, Rep. Mondaire Jones is a fresh, diverse voice in Congress, and I'm excited that he's running for a new seat in the city. But I'm also pretty disappointed he's sponsoring legislation that would undermine the legal and technological protections that make streaming films and entertainment possible. I would have thought Jones would have had the back of artisan filmmakers like myself. The Freedom to Repair Act legislation addresses a real problem, because pretty much everything from TVs to tractors uses embedded software to function. It's become hard for people to fix their own gear. Often it requires special digital tools and software permissions that individuals can't get. When corporate manufacturers erect unfair obstacles to the information, tools, and legal clearance needed to repair vital machines, people get forced to go to expensive authorized dealers or repair centers, limiting competition and making do-it-yourself solutions impossible. True. But Jones's proposed solution goes way beyond targeted rules to make sure farmers can get the information and licenses they need to fix their tractors, and filmmakers can their drones, robotics, or other necessary gear. Instead, it would gut the underlying copyright law that protects our work from being hacked and pirated online. That's a non-starter. Good intentions run amok. In addition to outlawing online infringement, the Copyright Act also makes it illegal to create and traffic in digital hacking tools. Just like Home Depot can't sell burglars' tools, no one can sell piracy equipment or software to break digital anti-copying technologies. Home Depot cannot sell burglaring tools, but they can sell a hammer, and they can sell many different things that you can use to pick a lock. They could sell many things you could use to break a window, and they also sell several things that you could use to stick somebody up on the street. And we don't make all of that illegal simply because you may be able to use it for something bad. The same way that we should not restrict people from being able to repair the property that they own because you're afraid about piracy. That protects all digital art and is the foundation of modern streaming ecosystem. It ensures no one can buy tools to rip a copy of my work from Amazon Prime Video and upload it to a piracy site. That already exists. It's called Open Broadcaster, Screen Capture, and uploading an MP4, and it gets done every single day, in spite of this piece of shit section of the DMCA still existing. But the Freedom to Repair Act would make developing and selling piracy tools legal. No! Repair tools! Putting the work of everyone whose livelihoods depend on digital distribution at risk. That's a significant number of Americans. 2.2 million Americans work in the film, television, and streaming industry. Yes, and over 300 million of them have personal property that they want to be able to repair. And 5.7 million Americans when you account for everyone who works in copyright-intensive industries according to the International Intellectual Property Alliance. Unfortunately, the Freedom to Repair Act makes no distinction between specific areas where carve-outs could be useful for devices where self-repair is especially needed, like agricultural equipment or cell phone screens, and allowing hacking tools built for piracy. Bullshit! It would legalize a vast new market for digital piracy tools covering any digital electronic equipment, including devices used extensively for digital entertainment like smart TVs, tablets, streaming boxes, and game consoles. Yes, because these are the types of devices that people want to be able to repair. In an era where everyone should be working to make the internet safer and healthier for everyone, this bill goes against the tide. See, safer. See, they're doing that thing there. The internet is unsafe, and we should be working to make it safer, and this makes the internet less safe. I'm surprised they didn't invoke CP in this article. This bill goes against the tide. It's hardly a secret that online piracy is already a huge problem. Congress shouldn't supercharge it with pro-piracy legislation like this bill. Safer, more thoughtful approaches are available. Car makers and independent repair shops, for example, recently reached an agreement to ensure competition and consumer access to auto repair services. What are you talking about? They just passed a ballot initiative in Massachusetts, and they're still fighting in court to this effing day. That kind of targeted agreement, negotiated by experts for a particular technology or industry, poses far less risk than sweeping one-size-fits-all legislation. Similarly, Congress enacted legislation several years ago to let smartphone users switch networks by unlocking their device without flooding the market with shoddy knockoffs. That was never the concern when it came to your ability to unlock a smartphone. People's concerns were never that you were going to buy a knockoff smartphone. The manufacturer did not want you to be able to take a device that you purchased from them and easily switch carriers. He's gaslighting you here. For farm equipment, several bills, including one from Senator John Testa, avoid gutting the Copyright Act and remain focused on solving specific problems. I would urge Jones to champion a more responsible win-win approach that gives people more ways to fix their devices without undermining digital entertainment services, that offers consumers more choices and compensates creatives. Let's fix the problem without inadvertently launching a whole new wave of digital piracy. American and New York artists lead the way in creating film, television, music, photography, video games, books, and the whole range of artistic works. At a time when digital piracy continues to wreak havoc on the creative economy, and the most popular piracy sites are more popular than sites like Grubhub, Starbucks, and MLB.com, Congress should be working with the creative community and technology companies to make piracy more difficult and less profitable. Okay, I want you to focus on this here, because this is a serious admission of guilt. At a time when digital piracy continues to wreak havoc on the creative economy, and the most popular piracy sites are more popular than Grubhub, Starbucks, and MLB.com, under his admission, all of this stuff is happening with Section 1201 of the DMCA as it is. With Section 1201 of the DMCA, anybody here can locate DVD Decryptor somewhere on the internet and use that to rip a DVD to put it onto their portable media player. Anybody here, if they want to, they can watch some show on Netflix, have OBS in display capture mode, capture it, and then upload it to another website. What we are doing is we are gutting people's freedom to try to solve the issue of piracy. It's not solved. And then we're saying, that's good. Let's keep doing that. More of that. Yes, more Section 1201 of the DMCA. More repair restrictions. And I would say no. We've had these restrictions for the past 20 years, and where has it gotten us? It's gotten us to a world where if you want to reverse engineer something so that you can fix what you own, that's illegal. And that shit has to end. And here's the thing. You're going to be reading about a lot more of this going into the future because we're actually winning. In the past, we would ask for temporary exemptions, and sometimes they'd be granted and sometimes they wouldn't. Now we're asking for a permanent exemption, and this one, we're actually going to win. We won a bill in New York State. We won a bill for right to repair for wheelchairs in Colorado. We're very close to winning an agricultural bill in another state. There's more winning that's going to be done. We actually have money now. We actually have the ability to hire people to work on these things full time, to educate people, to create grassroots coalitions, to do research that demonstrates how this affects the American consumer, and above all, the money to actually hire lobbyists to get shit done. I promise you, we are going to win a lot more into the future. And the more we win, the more you're going to see articles like this come out with fear-mongering bullshit about digital piracy and security and safety and the children and I need help from you. There's one favor I got to ask everybody in the audience. The more of these articles that come out, the more of commercials that come out talking about your safety and security and, getting assaulted in a parking lot and crap like this, make sure that the people in your life that are not technically savvy understand that this is bullshit. Make sure they understand what's actually going on. Make sure they understand that we used to have a freedom-loving culture in this country and that it's been slowly eroded over several decades, and we are doing everything we can to get it back from these people. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.